are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. As always, I am Sleeveless Mike, the man to my right, Thick Evo, and we are fucking back, baby. On a Sunday, it's going to be a little rainy here, I think. Probably beautiful out there in Arizona where Evo is, but we are back. We are in the goddamn dog days of podcast season because the NFL is a little dry right now, but we got some baseball, we got youth sports, we got NBA, and I have a hoarse fucking voice because we had youth sports kicking off yesterday with a double header. But before we dive too far into the show, my man, Evo, how we doing, baby?
Doing pretty good. It is nice out here in Arizona. I don't know what the temperature is yet, but I'm going to guess somewhere in the mid to high 70s because it's still only 10 in the morning. But we've been having that real nice weather here. So it's been good. A little bit windy, but just sitting here enjoying my Stella Blue coffee, not a sponsor. Come on, Barstool.
Could be a sponsor, though. Absolutely could be a sponsor.
Or my Liquid Death. Come on, Liquid Death, not a sponsor.
Also could be a sponsor. I would love a Liquid Death sponsorship. Actually, nothing is official yet. I've been hired by a company to be a brand ambassador, but I have not gone through the promotional stuff yet. I have not gone through the training, so we're going to keep that under wraps, but some interesting, fun things coming to the show here in the near future. I am very, very excited for that. But man, yesterday was wild day. Kickoff of Little League Baseball here out in Menor, and it was awesome. We had a doubleheader. We won the first game. We looked really good. I was nervous going into that very first game. Those boys that we were playing, very, very big kids. They a lot of those kids played on a travel team, but we came out and fucking put it on them. We are going to easily be the best base running team in this league because I am a very aggressive third base coach. Got a win, 9-5. Game 2 started 10 minutes after game 1, so we were dog ass tired. We had not much of a shot. First inning, we got a couple runs on the board. Graydon started game 2 at pitcher, got through the first inning just fine. Going into inning 2, didn't score anything. Got to the bottom of the second though. We were the away team. He got the first 2 outs fairly simply. Then he went on a little bit of a wild streak, walked a couple guys, had a couple of balls that we could have got out of the inning with that ended up being errors, and things absolutely snowballed from there. We were super tired legs, tired arms, and we just couldn't rebound. So we ended up getting our asses beat in game 2. But listen, when you take on a doubleheader at youth baseball, getting a split is a great day. Getting a split in a doubleheader when you're in the majors is a great day because that's a lot of baseball to ask. And I only have 11 kids, and I have to play 10 in the field because we're still playing with fucking 4 outfielders for some reason.
And do they have a pitch count for the kids as well?
They have an inning count. They don't actually have a pitch count. However, that is something that I as a coach pay a close attention to, trying to make sure that I'm not throwing, 60 pitches is okay if you spread out 60 pitches 3 innings or 4 innings. 60 pitches in an inning is entirely too much. That you're burning a kid out. So yeah. I pay attention to how many pitches that they're throwing, how they're working through an inning. But listen, we understand what it feels like to win. Now we also know what it feels like to lose. We will not have another doubleheader for the rest of the year. We will have rest days in between, and this team is going to be able to beat and compete with every single team in this league, and I like our chances to possibly win a championship. So it was a great day. Good start to the season.
Yeah, and the kids out there looking good in some fine drip, right?
Oh, the drip was nasty, bro.
We unfortunately gave all these kids hardcore Riz. Just out there
yeah,
looking good with 2 old furry men on their bellies. That's odd, but it's doing good for them. Now I had some of these questions to ask because I am trying to reacquaint myself as much as possible with Little League Baseball and things like that, hopefully part of my near future. But I spoke recently to one of our former coworkers who I'll leave anonymous.
Is he spicy?
No.
Okay.
This is someone who's still working with me but has their son in baseball. Now, Graydon's how old?
11.
Okay, so this guy's kid, he's coaching in the 11-12 group. He's an assistant coach on his team, and is having a very bad time because the head coach is clueless. Now, I have been in that situation before with the fantasy football, not fantasy football, the flag football team I was a part of.
Yes, I remember.
But how fast do the average pitchers in your league throw?
So I would say the average pitcher in our league at this point is probably throwing about 40, 45, somewhere in that range. Now, we got a couple kids that can gas it up there that are throwing a good 55. There might be one kid in our league that's throwing about 60.
Okay, good. That was my gut guess because it's been a while since I've been in that sort of a spectrum of baseball. So the story from this guy is that, they're doing practices with the teams and the guy won't teach fundamentals. He's got some kids on the team that have played baseball for years, some that this is their first or second year ever playing baseball. Fundamentals, regardless, I remember every time that I started up a new year, we started off the first week of practices with fundamentals. Get in front of the ball, just normal batting stuff, like your basic fundamentals to get a baseline for everybody, and then move on from there. Apparently, this never happened. They had their first batting practice where they went to the batting cages that are in the mall here. Batters Up, I think is what it's called. And the assistant
Bombs
coach,
Away out there in the mall. Yeah. Great spot, by the way.
Coach
also not a sponsor. Great organization. Great facility out there. Bombs Away out in Sierra Vista.
So the assistant coach that we know tries to take the kids in and get them set up on a tee to start warming up, getting the feel of hitting the ball and stuff like that before they immediately set in the cage. Head coach stopped him, said, no, put him in the cage. 70 miles an hour. And I was like, what age are these kids? He's like 11, 12. And I was like, and he has them going 70? And I was like, I feel like I didn't play in high school, like on the high school team, but I played ball during high school. Just the recreational youth league or whatever. And I was like, I feel like 70 was maybe average for where we were at, because the guys in high school were throwing 70, maybe 80. We had a couple guys that could get into the 90s that actually went and played college ball, But I was like, 70 for those kids already? And he was like, yeah, I don't really know how to gauge how quick they're throwing. Maybe we have some people getting into the 60s, maybe 70s. I was like, I think that's unrealistic.
So
and either way,
the hardest throwers of the ball in the Little League World Series, like the top of the top at this 11-12 group, they're throwing low 70s. That's the top echelon of kid in the country that is throwing in the 70s.
Well,
most kids at this age are throwing mid 40s to 50s. You get some kids that can gas it up to about 60. That's your average player. We probably have the best pitcher in the league on our team, and he gasses it up about 60.
Okay. See, that's why I was like, it just seems unfair to immediately, without warm up or anything, throw these kids into the 70. I was like, that's just silly. Like, you're not going to have diamond sharpening diamond type thing here. You got to start them off somewhere. So he's running into issues like that. Or we'll say this. So you've got your team's up to bat. You got a base runner on first base coach that we know is out there coaching him up. There's 2 outs. All right.
Going on contact, baby.
You go on contact, right?
Yep.
So he's explaining that to the kid. So there's contact. Kid goes round second, is on his way to third. Head coach at the third base holding him up. And then the guy in the outfield drops the ball on a fly ball. And
you run until there's a play made or something happening, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the head coach doesn't understand that. So he was holding him up, being like, whoa, don't run. You got to get back. Not understanding that there's 2 outs, that you go on contact. And the exact situation that you're playing for happens where the outfielder does not make a play on the ball that could have been home and scored already, but he got held up by the head coach. and the head coach is not taking any sort of feedback from the other coaches, and so on and so forth. So it's obvious that the head coach doesn't understand the game of baseball, and somehow he got into that position. They also that
Well,
I
they're
brought the pitch
volunteers.
count
We're all volunteers.
for sure. But you would think there'd be some, like, I'm not going to go. I know baseball better than that, and I'm not going to go ask to be a head coach.
Right.
And if I do, I for damn sure am putting in a lot of time outside to make sure
Well, and
that
you're
I'm
pulling
not
in-
fucking up.
And you're pulling in other voices. Hopefully, you're pulling in
absolutely.
other voices.
I'm gonna be doing my research online, figuring out what to do for practices, how to correctly do this before I just jump straight into it. This guy obviously didn't do that, which is frustrating for our buddy here. And then I also brought the pitch count thing because it sounds like they have a pitch count in this league here. You can
There
only throw
is.
so many pitches before you switch.
I coached in that league, in that Sierra Vista Little League, as an assistant coach for, God, what, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years there. So there is a pitch count. Not every year that I coached, we weren't, having kids pitch. But there is a pitch count in that league. At a certain point, you can't let the next guy go. Us, we have innings. They can pitch 6 innings in a week, no more than 4 in a game. But as a coach, it's my responsibility to see, okay, this kid has thrown 60 pitches in 2 fucking innings, or he's thrown 45 pitches in 2 innings. That's a lot to ask a young man to do. That's too many pitches in that short amount of time. Like, if you can get a 12, 15 pitch inning where the kid is gassing him up and you get, fucking 9, 12, 15 pitches, he can go because he's going to get a break in between. That's okay. And listen, I don't want to bury any other coaches. Most of these parents, because that's who it is. It's parents who volunteer to coach. If you're not 100, just because you watch a lot of baseball doesn't necessarily mean that you know a lot of baseball, especially when it comes to the coaching aspect and understanding those different things. My assistant coaches have been fantastic. I had a plan in place. One of my assistant coaches voiced his opinion and was concerned with the way that I was going to start it. I appreciated that because I knew where his heart was at. To be able to take that is fine, but we start from the ground up. It doesn't matter what team I coach. We will always start from the ground up. I got 2 kids on this team that have never played 1 inning of baseball in their entire fucking lives.
Absolutely. You got to do that.
We're gonna start from the ground up. Everybody. I got kids who were on travel teams on this team. You know where they started? In the same fucking spot that the kids that had never played before. Because it's been a long time since they played baseball. You start from the ground up. You go through all the mechanical stuff. You learn, you grow, and then we can go into the other things. Kids that are more advanced, I can teach them more advanced things. Once we get past the basics, though, that is such an important thing with youth sports. You have got to build a base. If you build a table with shaky fucking legs, at some point it's going to give out.
Yeah, you ain't fucking on that table.
Mm-mm.
That's what we're here for.
That's right, baby. You cannot build a team. You cannot build a table with shaky legs. You got to start from the ground up. So that's what we did. The boys responded really, really well. They had a ton of heart. Even in the game where we were getting our asses beat, they showed a lot of heart. But we also learned some things about ourselves as a team. We still struggle. And now listen, this isn't a struggle for me as an adult. I'm sure it's a struggle for you. A lot of adults. When things don't go our way, we get frustrated. When you have an 11 or a 12-year-old and things don't go their way, they get probably more frustrated. And being able to learn how to rebound and deal with adversity is one thing that youth sports is supposed to try to teach you. Because it's not listen, winning is important. Anybody who says that winning is not important is a loser. Parents can take that however they want, but I will stand by that until the day I die. Winning is important, but it is not the only important thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. You've got to have fun. You've got to learn. You've got to grow, not only as a player, but as a person. And that's my job as a coach. So that's what my intent was to try to do, was to get these kids to know the game, understand the game, love the game, win, and have fun while they're all doing that. So yesterday was an important day. We learned how to win. We know what it feels like to lose, but we didn't quit when we were losing. So that was very inspiring for me as a coach, and I cannot wait to get these boys back out there. Now, we don't have another game for 11 days. It's a long,
lot of practice.
long break. So But in this league, which is very weird to me, a lot of coaches don't necessarily practice during the season, which I think
Really?
is a disservice to the kids. Yes. In Arizona, we were practicing twice a fucking week, no matter what.
I always
Here-
enjoyed, like, I enjoyed playing in the games, but I enjoyed the practices as well. Like, it was fun. Like, I enjoyed myself in their practices.
Yeah, so that we're going to be practicing mid-season. We're going to continue to grow, get better. This team is going to be very, very good, man. We have got some studs on this team, and I got a kid who has never played one inning of baseball in his entire life until yesterday. He's going to be one of my pitchers. He's just a natural athlete. He's going to be able to perform and do well, but I cannot toss him into situations where I'm setting him up to fail either.
So that's one from our acquaintance.
You sound like a fucking robot.
Of course. We can move on.
Okay. But yeah, tossing kids into a cage at 70 miles an hour with their at the beginning of the season is just asinine to me. It doesn't work. You're going to demoralize them more than you're going to build them up. You have to build a base. You have to build a base, build a foundation. If you guys can't tell, I was loud yesterday. Oh, Evo's gone. He's going to come back. My voice is a little cracky today. Was not yelling at the kids. I was yelling out instructions. So anybody watching, if I am hoarse, oh, there we go.
My bad. I don't know. My shit just literally shut off.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. I am a little hoarse today, though. Not because I was yelling at kids, because I was yelling out instructions. We're still learning. First 2 games of the season, we gotta learn, because I'm not coaching one kid. I got to coach all 10 kids that are out on the field at one time. So I got to use my voice, be loud. And we're a team, and this came up first game. We are a team that's going to play loud. We are going to be that new school baseball. We're going to let the kids play. They're going to be loud. They're going to celebrate their victories, all of that stuff. They're going to have fun. And some of the other parents on the other team did not like it. We had parents that were complaining about what we were doing. We had parents from the other team that got into a little bit of a back and forth with an umpire. Head coaches had to be called out. Hey, I don't talk to anybody else. I talk to you. I don't talk to your players. I don't talk to your assistant coaches. I talk to you. Listen, that's what youth sports is about. It's not about you as the parent. It's not about me as the coach. This isn't even my fucking team. I sponsored the team and I coach the team, but it is not my team. I am there to facilitate their ability to play. That is it. This is their team, and they need to understand that, and they need to take responsibility and ownership of themselves, their teammates, to make that their team. I don't know that enough coaches at this level understand that, and it's a shame that when you get into travel ball, sometimes you'll have that, right? But too often we put kids under a lot of pressure, and they're 11 and 12. We're here to have fun. Yes, we want to fucking win. I want to win every single game that we go out there and play. But it's more than that. It's so much more than that.
The anecdote I was going to get at before my computer so rudely interrupted us is, you have that player that you said hasn't played before, but you're going to have him pitch because he's a natural athlete, correct? Well, this team that I'm talking about, apparently they have one pitcher who's really, really good. Like, he's their ace. And then no one else can pitch. And so the only person that gets any practice time pitching is the ace, if you will. The other ones don't. So, like, that pitcher is keeping them in games, apparently. They played what is expected to be the best team in the league already, and they were winning that game through X amount of innings, and then that pitcher had to be pulled because of the pitch count, and then they ended up losing, like, they were up like 4-0, and ended up losing 12-4 or something like that, because they had to switch out those pitchers, and the new ones coming in have no idea what they're doing. So you got to teach those fundamentals. You can't always just have your good guys out there practicing. You got to, and I don't mean to say good guys, but I mean everyone is at a different level. So you got to foster these kids' growth. Otherwise, they're going to be bad this year and bad next year, and maybe they won't play again because you did a poor job coaching and didn't make the game fun for them. So hopefully something switches up with that group. I know that I would be frustrated as the assistant coach. I don't know that I could stand by and be like, hey, we are ruining this experience for them, and you need to understand that you are part of the problem. Let me help you, type thing.
Yeah.
Either way.
That's the thing, man. Like it really is. And so I'm going to plug myself right here. Shameless plug. So I started a little TikTok series. So if you go check out the Lineman Lounge 2.0 TikTok, you're going to see some new content on there. I actually have a video that I fucking completely forgot to post. That I am one day behind. I started doing a workout series, trying to get myself back in shape, trying to get caked up, and been talking sports while I do it. The last thing I talked about, which I have not posted, I absolutely have to do, was talking about youth sports and what it means to be a coach. I'm going to get that posted today. I failed to do that the other day, so I need to make sure that I get that shit uploaded. But it's not about us. It's never about you. As the coach, as a parent, don't live vicariously through your kids. Let them have their moment in the sun. Let them learn. And I learned some things yesterday that I need to do better as a coach as well, because you're never a finished product. You got to keep learning. You got to keep evolving.
Yep. All right. Do you want to transition from the youth sports, youth baseball into MLB baseball?
Let's do it. Because I mean, I love Major League Baseball. I love what's going on. The Guardians right now, my team, kind of struggling right now, man. We just cannot. We are so banged up at pitcher. We have Tristan McKenzie, who is an absolute stud. Sticks. He is hurt. Aaron Savali hurt as well. Zach Plesac has been not great this year. He was just recently sent down. Luckily for the Guardians organization, they are a pitching factory. We have two guys that have come up and have been absolutely dealing. Logan Allen, Tanner Bivey have been fucking lights out. They have been absolutely shoving. And we got another guy, Peyton Battenfield, who has also been very good, who has stepped in for Plesac. They are very similar in what they have done, but Battenfield has performed better. So we are down in the standings to you guys by 3.5 games. We are actually in third place somehow. The goddamn Detroit Tigers are in second right now, 3 games back. I don't think that the Guardians are in panic mode. They should not be in panic mode. Once we get healthy, we will be fine, in my opinion. But we're not hitting the ball hard right now. And the pitching staff being so depleted has hurt.
Yeah, the Central is a little bit weird. I don't want to say that they're the worst in baseball right now, but I mean, the point differential between all these teams is not great. The only one that's in the positive is the Twins, which is weird to say. Whereas if you look at the AL East, I mean, the AL East is pretty much probably the best, I would say. You got the Rays with 27 wins and only 7 losses and 140 or 114 point differential in the positive. You know, they're killing it. But you have 4 of your 5, well, all five teams are in the positive in wins right now. And all positive in the point differential. So they're doing phenomenal out there. It's early in the year, though. Not time to get down on your Cleveland Guardians at all. You guys are 15-18. We have another game here, the third in the series between the Twins and the Guardians, coming up in, I believe, about 12 minutes or so. So that'll be fun for us. I'm happy that my Twins are actually being competitive or whatever. We'll see how this works out long term over the season. They are doing things smarter, in my opinion. Like Buxton is not playing in the field because of the injury concerns that he constantly has. So he's primarily DHing, and Taylor is working out well, working in center field for him. And Buxton is having himself a pretty damn good year batting. So if we're able to do that and keep him healthy for the long term, then that is a viable strategy for this team going forward. But we'll see. I mean, 19-15 isn't the best record or anything. It's still early. There's still a lot of movement that's going to happen.
I mean, we got 125 plus games still to play, so anything is possible.
Absolutely.
It's almost impossible to play yourself into a playoff spot this early in the season, but you can easily play yourself out of one. Now, I say that it's almost impossible to play yourself into a playoff spot, but I think the Rays have basically already fucking done that. They are so up in the standings. They are the best team in baseball, and I don't think it's even fucking close what they've been able to do. 114 run differential. I mean, they started out the season 13-0. That team is going to be a problem for anybody they run into in the playoffs. They basically have to just play 500 ball for the rest of the season, and they're going to win almost 100 games.
Yeah, they're real impressive right now. They would have to have some sort of a monumental fucking implosion in order. And that's not teams playing better than them. It would be purely an implosion for them to fall out of the playoff race. I mean, in the East, like I said, all the teams are pretty good. So they're going to have stiff competition for the entirety of the year. But they kind of have played themselves into a playoff spot at this point.
Yeah. Now there are a couple of teams that have played them out of playoff spots already. Two teams that I'm talking about, one in our division, Kansas City Royals. They are 8-26. They are down bad. That is a bad team right now. I'm surprised that their record is that bad, but the team that is easily done, they got no chance to compete are the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
That team is a goddamn travesty. And I feel bad for the fans. I really, really do. That team was really good for a very long time. They tried to play the Moneyball thing. Moneyball worked for a very, very long time, but they're just not there. They're not going to compete anytime in the near future. They don't have a ton of assets, and the fans in Oakland are going to lose a ball club. There is no two ways around it.
They're not showing up to the games at all anymore. That's how much they've turned on the team, knowing that they are looking to move out to Vegas, correct?
Vegas is the location right now.
Yeah. So it's a tough spot for Oakland. I mean, it's a city that's in a bit of turmoil in general. I mean, one, you're in California, and California politics seem to just kind of be ruining their own cities from within. But the city went from being kind of slummy, ghetto-y, but having that blue collar feel to it, to being extremely gentrified and pushing those people out and displacing them. And now you're taking your sports teams and things like that are a lot of your culture and lifeblood of the city, and you're trying to just wipe the slate clean there. And it's really ruining Oakland. They're trying to make it like a tech capital, kind of like Silicon Valley and stuff like that, and it just isn't taking it. I feel really bad for those fans. You lost your Raiders. You're losing your Oakland A's.
I mean, the fucking Golden State Warriors have already moved kind of out of Oakland as well into the new, it's not Oracle, whatever their new arena is out there. So Oakland is down bad, and I feel really bad for those guys. Like, I really do. Like, I hate seeing a team or a city lose all of their teams. Like, that sucks. Like, I don't know how I would feel. Like, I remember very, very young, like when the Browns were gone and then we had to wait for the Browns to come back. There was no football in Cleveland. That it's miserable. But to lose a football team, to lose a baseball team, to have your basketball team move, outside of the town as well, it's terrible for the Oakland fans. And I hope that they find a way to get something back to that city and give these fans. The A's are even trying to. I mean, they're just trying to get a little bit of money before they make the jump. They were offering like a 30, almost 40 game package for $99 to just get motherfuckers in the stands. But the Oakland A's fans are not having it. They're done. They're out on this team, but they're not out on the team. They're out on the ownership. They are done with that bullshit. They're not having it. They will not support that. And I cannot blame them, but because of that, they're going to lose that franchise.
Yeah. Now I can speak, like, there was a time when there was talks early on in my life of the Vikings possibly moving out of Minnesota, which would have been insane to me. But old owner Brad McCombs, he's a Texas guy. He wanted to move the team to Texas, something like that. He couldn't get a new stadium deal figured out with the state of Minnesota. And so there were those talks of like, hey, maybe I'm just going to move the team, take it somewhere else that I'm more comfortable, more lucrative, potentially, blah, 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 until he ended up selling the team and we ended up staying in Minnesota. But there was a couple of years there where I was seriously concerned that I was about to lose my football team, which is my main passion for sports, is that football team. So it would have been very difficult. It sucks for Oakland. I'm bummed for them. Obviously, Nancy Carlisle.
Yeah, Mama Carlisle still hates Art Modell. Even though he is dead. I get it. I think everybody in Cleveland still holds a grudge against Art Modell. I get it. It stinks, man. It fucking stinks. I feel bad for those fans. Not bad for the ownership. You reap what you sow, but I feel bad for the fans.
Yep. All right, you ready to move on to NBA?
Actually, I did want to bring up one more thing, because this is something that the NFL is kind of dealing with, and we talking about the San Francisco 49ers. They have a quarterback right now who just got Tommy John, who they're not sure when he's going to be back, if he's going to come back to full health. But in Major League Baseball, we see Tommy Johns happen all the time, and they're getting better with the surgery. They're getting better with all of that. And now we have Bryce Harper coming back from Tommy John in like 6 fucking months. That is absolutely asinine that he is going to be able to go out there and throw. And now, I don't know if he's going to play the field. They should probably try to protect his arm. But
Sure.
Bryce Harper is coming back. He is going to probably DH for a while. They will limit his outfield experience. But could you imagine having a conversation about a guy getting Tommy John and 6 months later he's back? This is reminiscent of an Adrian
ACLs.
Peterson. ACL comes back 6 months later and goes on an absolute fucking tear. Almost 2,000 yards that year, 1,800 yards, I believe he got coming off the ACL.
It was either that year or the next year that he almost broke the record, where he was over $2,000. I don't know. It is seeming like we are getting better medically, technologically, whatever it is, in order to complete these surgeries, the better understanding of how to perform the surgery for more rapid healing. I don't know. I'm actually of the mindset of, if you're having one of these really bad injuries, something that requires surgery, and you're going to be out for months, we might as well allow the player to use some sort of PEDs in order to fucking get themselves right.
You know
And
how
then
I feel about
they're off-
PEDs in baseball.
Yeah, I'm not even talking just baseball though. Like if you have a player and you're going to IR them or something like that in football for the rest of the year, like we have different IR designations where you can put a guy in IR for a couple weeks and they can return, things like that. You have some players that have to be IR'd for the entire season. I'd say if you have a player with an injury bad enough where they are going to be IR'd for at least the entire season, where they could potentially come back in the playoffs or something like that, while they're doing their rehab, allow them to use medical technologies out there in order to help them recover as best as possible. And then once they're done with that, sure, have them off of the stuff and get back to a normal baseline. But we might as well let these athletes help themselves get physically right, if possible. That's neither here nor there, I guess. It's something that I wouldn't
agree
mind
with
seeing.
you. I agree with you, man. But listen, especially in baseball, people are not going to have it. There's no way. If you are caught one time for something small, like Fernando Tatis got caught for, I don't know what he was doing, but the reports were that, whatever. I don't care. When you are in season, you should not be on it. If you're coming back, I get, like, fucking let them get back, man. You're talking about somebody's life. Their fucking entire career hinges on them being better. Let them fucking do it. I don't understand the vitriol that comes with it.
Yeah, I'm not even talking like, oh, just put this guy in the best gear possible or something like that. I'm talking about like BPC 157, different things like that are healing reagents, whether it's stem cell treatments, things like that, which typically aren't allowed to be done because you're adding exogenous things into the body in order to assist it. Well, you're adding exogenous things into the body when you're repairing a torn ligament at that point, we should work to shape that whole conversation a little bit differently, because it's not talking about performance enhancing at that point. It's talking about a player's life, their body, wellness, things like that. But it is an interesting thing to bring up, though, with Bryce Harper coming back this quick. Now, Bryce Harper's not a pitcher. He's not a quarterback. Baseball involves throwing the ball, but he's not having to throw the ball, we'll say, for a football player 40, 50 times potentially in a game where it's a lot of throws. He's not having to throw the ball 80 plus times as a pitcher. You might have a couple throws here or there. And still, I think it's a good idea for him to DH or for him to, not be playing the field in order to rest, recover, and just get him back in there. And obviously, his bat is still popping. He got a home run the other night. So he's still obviously good, but it's good to bring him back slowly. And I don't think we'll see that with Brock Purdy. I think we're looking at least half a year that they should be safe with him if they truly think that he is the guy for the future. As much as it's tough to, I can't say that he is the future for that 49er team as much as I like the guy and as good as he played last year. But because we just don't know. It could be a flash in the pan. It could be a Case Keenum situation where he has one phenomenal year, something like that. He could come back from this injury and not be able to throw right anymore, It's just possible.
And he already had a funky motion, Brock Purdy did.
Yeah, so
So
it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it is nice to see it. Some of these injuries and rehab times are shortening and getting better.
yeah, and we will actually bring up some injuries, surgery type things when we get into the NFL. We're going to talk about Taylor Lewan today as well,
All right.
because there are some interesting things that have come out with that, even though all the details cannot come out because there's a lawsuit in place right now. But outside of that, man, I am good on baseball. Are we ready to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You want
All right,
to do
so
basketball or NFL?
So I want to talk about basketball just because there something that happened in Cleveland sports, and it is a very, very sad story. Nick Gilbert, son of the Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert, has died at the age of 26. My thoughts and condolences go out to the Gilbert family. Nick was struggling with a lifelong battle with neurofibromatosis, and he lost that battle. But anytime you see somebody this age dealing with that kind of struggle, it's incredibly sad. I am hopeful that he is in a much better place. For people that do or don't believe, I don't want to get into that, but he has been lost, and my thoughts and prayers go out to the Gilbert family.
Yeah, that's always difficult to hear, difficult to see. And it shows you that money can't buy healing to everything,
It cannot.
unfortunately.
But let's get into the actual playoffs a little bit, because the playoffs right now, man, I I don't understand what has happened with some of these teams. Like the Bucks, gone, bounced already. The 1 seed, gone to the
Yeah.
Heat, and the Heat were just dominant in that series. And I want to talk about the comments that came from Giannis Antetokounmpo after the fact. A reporter asked Giannis, "Does this feel like, is this a failure? You guys are the 1 seed. You go out, and is this a failure?" Giannis came back with kind of a poignant answer, but not a lot of people agree with it. He said, "No, I mean, it's not a failure. This is sports. Like, anytime you're out there, you're playing, you're competing, you're getting better. Losing is not a failure." And I think it's interesting because he brought up Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan failed X amount of times. There are plenty of other people who are in professional sports who said, come out and said, "Yeah, I failed 8 or 9 times out of 10 because I only got one Super Bowl." Um, is it a failure when your team, who is the number 1 seed, loses, or are you in the same vein that Giannis is? Hey, listen, man, like, shit happens especially in professional sports.
Uh,
Obviously, it caused enough of a stir in that organization that their coach was let go.
yeah. Look, I'll say this. He's right and wrong. He has the right mindset, but kind of the wrong, in my opinion, way of distributing that. So is this a failure? Yes. Does the failure define us? It shouldn't. What That's keeping that positive mental attitude. You can find good in every failure. It will elevate you further unless you let it tear you down. So in that respect, from his mind point, he has to say that this isn't a failure, that I'm going to use this to drive me further. That is good. That is good for an athlete. That's good for a leader on his team. But you can't say that it's not a failure. You have to recognize that, yes, we failed here. And now we have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to correct that failure. If you don't accept it as a failure, then it's kind of stunting your ability to grow from it a little bit. I get what he was trying to say, I believe, which is to have that positive mindset, and that a failure isn't going to define me, this team, my future, the careers, all this stuff. It's not going to, it shouldn't, but we can, because we can grow from it. But you have to first accept the fact that, yes, you had high expectations. You're the 1 seed. You were going to try to go for another championship, and it didn't work out. So now we have to learn and grow from this. So I think I get what he was saying. He might have not said it as well as he could have. And then, bringing up into guys like Michael Jordan and stuff, whenever you start talking about the GOAT, you're going to get people being like, I don't know if you should be putting yourself in that same conversation. Rightfully so. But the point that he's trying to make is that history is riddled with failure, and it's how you recover from that. It's not, we talk about the greatest guys in every sport, and they all have failures. It is what happens in sports. You lose, and it's
Yeah,
how you recover.
absolutely. And that's a great lesson for all of my youth baseball players that I have right now. Listen, game 2, we failed. We absolutely failed. But that does not define us. We have got to find ways to grow from that loss and continue to strive and push forward. So I love what you said there. And it's a great lesson for athletes of any age to take and go on with. But let's get back into some more of the playoffs.
Yep.
Celtics, 76ers. That's going to be a great series. Game 4 today at 3:30. So we got about a little under 2 hours before that game kicks off. Celtics up 2-1. 76ers, I mean, they have the MVP in the league, but is the MVP of the league supposed to be their driving force, or do they need to play through James Harden? I have concerns about the way that team dynamic sometimes works. One game we'll see James Harden take over. Sometimes we'll see Embiid take over, but can we ever see them play together as a unit? I'm not sure that they're capable of that because they're so different types of players. There are just certain things in a basketball team that have to mesh the right way. Well, we talked about this with the Lakers, last year? They brought in a ton of big names, but can that team mesh with their play styles and what they do? The Celtics know how to play together. That team, that core has been together for so long. And now we're seeing the 76ers, who are very talented. They have the MVP, James Harden, one of the best scorers probably of all time, but they're down. And can they right this ship? I don't know. I really don't. I know that producer Amber has a futures bet on the 76ers to win the championship, but can they find a way to make it a cohesive unit? I don't know. And I'm not sure it will really matter because I know who I think is going to win this championship.
Well, who's that? I can run through the different matches we got going on, which for those who have been passively tracking, we haven't talked a whole lot about baseball, or excuse me, basketball or baseball, because we've been focused on football. We just had the draft, obviously, but we also, just talked about that. The Celtics are up 2-1 on the 76ers. We have the Miami Heat leading the Knicks 2-1 in their series. You have the Denver Nuggets, the 1 seed, leading the Phoenix Suns 2-1, and the Lakers leading the Golden State Warriors 2-1. So, who else do you think out there?
I got the
who will win
Nuggets,
this whole
man.
thing?
I think the Nuggets are going to win this whole thing. They have, in my opinion, probably the most complete player in the entire NBA. He did not get to have the MVP this year. That goes to Embiid. But the Nuggets have been fantastic. They've been the 1 seed out west all year, and rightfully so. Like, they are so good. And I think this is the year that Nuggets team might finally break through. They are playing really good fucking basketball. They've been doing it all year, but I think the Nuggets are the team that's going to come out of this on top. Now, they have a tough matchup still with the Suns. That Suns team is not going to go away. They got KD out there as well. Like, they are very good, but I think if the Nuggets get past them, I don't think they have a problem beating the Lakers or the Warriors in the next series. I think I'm penciling them in for the championship right now. I think that they are definitely going to make the finals. I think they probably end up facing the Celtics in the finals, but I think the Nuggets can get them there.
All righty. Well, anything else with basketball that you want to talk about before we wrap things up with football?
So I got nothing else in the basketball realm. Oh, actually, we have to talk one thing.
Okay. Oh, Bronny James.
We have to talk Bronny, man.
All right.
Like, he's not even the best recruit in his class, but he is easily the most publicized recruit in his class. He is going to be the highest NIL player in the country when he signs and goes and does his deal for USC, because that is where he is going. He is going to a massive market down there in South California. That USC team is getting a really, really great player, not the best player in the country in this class, but the amount of attention that Bronny James is going to attract, and his name being on that USC roster, his commitment there is going to help that USC recruiting class at least for this year, because I don't know that Bronny stays for more than one because he wants to play with dad. And I get that. That would be an awesome thing to do.
Unless someone goes out there and have some Lakers, and then James would try to get himself or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Turned down other spots. What I believe you turned down.
So Ohio State was one, and God, what was the other place that he turned down?
Was it Oregon? I don't remember.
Pick them over. Let me pull it up here. I know Ohio State was one because obviously there are massive ties to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron said if he was going to have to play college ball, he would have gone to Ohio State. So it was Oregon and Ohio State. Yep, that is correct. Okay. So Oregon is the other one.
All right. But either way, USC, big market. Obviously, there's a financial back to this as well, because wherever he was going to go, he's going to get NIL deals. But Southern California, the money's flowing. So him going there, he's still close to dad and everything with the Lakers. Makes sense. It makes sense as a spot for him to land.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. I'm excited to see the way his career progresses. I remember when, was it Jeffrey Jordan was coming up, was a highly talked about prospect recruit. Didn't necessarily get the offers that he wanted and could never, step into dad's footsteps. Can Bronny at least get to the NBA and have a moderate amount of success? It's not reasonable to say that, Bronny James is LeBron's son, so he's going to be just like LeBron and he's going to be the next guy. That's not a reasonable ask ever. It doesn't, just because that is your son does not mean that he is going to be exactly like you. So I'm hopeful that he can go and have a good career in the NBA, but there is just so much pressure on this kid because his dad is LeBron James. But we cannot try to hold him to that LeBron James standard because it's not fair to him. It's not fair to LeBron, and it's not fair to any of the organizations that are going to think about taking this kid. Oh, if I take Bronny, I'm getting LeBron. It's no way to know that. He will have to come into his own. So I hope he does great at USC. I hope he finds his way into the NBA and has a successful career. But you cannot be like, oh yeah, it's LeBron's son. He's just going to be just this unbelievable baller and is going to excel in the league. It's not fair.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right. So that's
now
the
football?
NBA. So let's talk UFC a little bit because there was big fights last night.
I didn't watch any of them because I was too busy making s'mores and shit.
So I coached 2 baseball games and I got roped into barbecuing, so I did not get to watch them either. However, I did watch some highlights, and I definitely saw the interview after Aljamain Sterling was able to retain his title against Triple C, Henry Cejudo. I did not think that Aljamain was going to be able to beat Cejudo. I did not get to see the fight, like I just said, but I'm going to have to go back and watch it because Cejudo was just all world when he was active all the time. And I was a little surprised that Aljamain was able to pull it off. But his next fight, our guy, Sean O'Malley, is going to get his title shot. And they brought Sean into the octagon to have a little press conference, little hype session. Because that's what the UFC does. They hype up their fights because they're promoters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to see Aljamain Sterling versus fucking Sean O'Malley because that is going to be electric. Sean O'Malley is one of the biggest stars in the UFC who is not a champion. He is a fucking pay-per-view seller. I cannot wait to see that fight. I thought it was interesting that they would bring him in. It seems like the UFC is giving him the rub a little bit. Because they don't always, when a guy retains his title, they don't bring in his fucking next opponent into the octagon to have a impromptu press conference, impromptu showdown. Seems like Sean O'Malley's getting the rub a little bit.
Yeah, where O'Malley goes in and whips the shirt off as well. You know, he's up there ready to
His
go
fucking
right now.
Predator jacket, and yeah.
Yeah. They're taking a bit of a cue from WWE. Get some of that stuff popping
They are
for
now in the
the
same
next.
company.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get that popping for the next big fight for them. So I get it. It's marketing. You know, it's interesting. It's not like boxing where you're going to have a little more decorum. But that's the UFC. I mean, it's about beating the shit out of each other. So
how long is Sean O'Malley going to have to wait for this title fight? 4, 5 months, 6 months?
Yeah, just like how we talked about the last big fight, we're looking at 3 to 6 months at least.
Yeah, so it's going to be quicker than people think, but it won't be as fast as some people want. They're going to have enough time to build this thing, and there's going to be I cannot wait to see the fucking Twitter battles. Twitter is going to be going ape shit with fighters talking about these two dudes going at it. The UFC does a good job. There's a reason that they're the best mixed martial arts promotion in the entire world. It's because they can pull things like this off. They have the best fighters in the world. I love Sean O'Malley. I want to see Sean O'Malley win a title because that is the next superstar. We have not seen Conor McGregor in so long, but Conor McGregor was a pay-per-view seller. He's a headliner. Does not matter what card Conor is on, that card sells. The stadium, the arena sells out. The pay-per-views go gangbusters. Sean O'Malley could be that next guy, that same type of personality. And I think the UFC really wants that to happen.
Absolutely. I mean, these game fights is what draw the pay-per-views and everything. So making sure that everyone goes and watches these fights on a completely legit legal sources so that way they can get their money out of it. You've got to hype these things up to make them a spectacular event.
Yeah. All right. So we got UFC, NBA, MLB. Let's get to our bread and butter, baby. Let's go talk some NFL. And we're going to talk about your favorite guy and a team that we loved to bury, the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers, he had a wish list, right? Or no. He came out and said, no, I don't have a fucking wish list. That's asinine. Why would I go and demand that these guys be on this team? And I would never say that I want my guys if I'm coming to your organization. Who did they just sign?
Cobb.
Randall Cobb.
The ghost, the decrepit body of Randall Cobb.
So the wish list is real, right? It's got to be real.
Yeah. Robert Saleh came out and said that the whole wish list thing is silly. But that's kind of like being like, we're not in a war in the Middle East right now. Forget what you're seeing on TV. Like, what the fuck? How stupid do people think everyone else in the world is? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know what else to say. Like, Rodgers doesn't have a wish list. However, you're doing everything you can. Oh, fuck, we're going to have internet problems again. You're doing everything that you can to make him happy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. You're good right now.
And so he's got a list of guys that he loves. Yeah.
Yep. Randall Cobb being one of them.
We won't call it a wish list. We'll just call it a list of good players that he knows. And you go out signing them.
So we're doing the Army thing where we say it's one thing, but it's actually another, and we just call it a different name. So nobody actually thinks that we're doing the thing that we're actually doing. Yeah.
It's you can call it whatever you want. It's not a wish list. It's a shopping list. Go out and get my shopping list. Whatever the fuck you want to call it. You're not going to be bringing in the ghost of fucking Randall Cobb. You're not going to bring in Mason fucking Crosby potentially to compete. You're not going to be bringing in all these guys who, let's be real, the Packers were a fucking B team by the end of the year and worse than that at the beginning of the year. You're going to bring in all these old, decrepit veterans for any other reason other than to make your new quarterback happy. Because you have to, because you just made a stupid fucking big investment on this guy. The price on him next year still fucking blows me away. We're talking over $100 million that he's going to be owed. Like, and what you had to give up, I still think that the Jets got fleeced on this. That, like, the potential of that going from a second round pick next year to a first round pick is going to happen based off the stakes that they put in there. That should have been, hey, if he retires or something like that, then we pay you nothing. If he plays next year or something like that, you get a second round pick. If we win the Super Bowl, you get a first. But they buckled, they bent the knee and gave the Packers what they wanted, which is fucking dumb. But yeah, this whole it's not a wish list thing is so dumb that, like, how fucking stupid do you think everybody is?
Yeah. It's very clearly that he had a list of guys he wanted.
Tom Brady going down
doing it.
Tom Brady going down to Tampa Bay, it would be like, oh, when we signed Gronkowski, I had nothing to do with that. Why would we do that?
Yeah.
There's no history between the two of us.
It doesn't make sense why and here's the thing that I don't know that Aaron understands. Listen, Aaron is a heel. Aaron has always been a heel in the NFL. Like, using some fucking WWE vernacular here. He's not a babyface. Aaron has never been a fucking babyface. He is a heel. He should play the goddamn heel role and just say, yes, I wanted these fucking guys. These are my guys. I want them. Because I tell you what, people would probably respect it a little more if you just fucking own it.
Yeah, probably.
If you just own it.
They'd say he's stupid for bringing those guys in, because you could probably, like, look, if they had worked this deal out a lot sooner, I bet you would have had a lot more of the premium top tier free agents being like, yeah, I'll come there. I'll come on like a 2-year deal, maybe a little bit reduced from other places because I want to go play here because you guys are putting something together, a little dream team type situation. You probably would have that happen. Instead, both teams drag this shit out for fucking ever. And everyone knows that all you want is your dirty, dumb, fucking terrible retreads, Aaron. And so that's what's going to get brought in there. I mean, you trade Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore. Yeah, thank you, by the way. Thanks for fucking that up.
It would have been a great receiver on that team, a great situation, but like, you've got to make room for your old, decrepit, shitty fucking backups like Randall Cobb. Like,
Randall Cobb was a great player. Randall Cobb was a great fucking player in his heyday.
6 years ago.
He was fantastic. He's
6 years
anymore.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lazard. I like Lazard, but he's not better than Elijah Moore.
No.
And that's kind of your 1-for-1 swap that just kind of happened. Like, it's silly. It's just silly to me. I don't know.
Yeah. But listen, this story is going to continue to grow. The amount of money they gave up, and listen, when the trade came,
bad that they like don't make the playoffs. Like, that would be the best storyline going is that, we did all this bullshit and we bent the knee to Aaron and the Packers and we didn't make the playoffs because they didn't make the playoffs last year and they weren't a good team and all we're doing is bringing over their trash.
Yeah. Listen, when the trade came out, I kind of thought that the Jets had won. Because they had to get Aaron. There is no way you can trot Zach fucking Wilson back out there in front of that New York fan base and that New York media and just run. You can't. You absolutely can't. So they have to make this move, right? So they get it done. They do it for a second, not a first this year. They get to improve that team this year, which is smart because this is the year that they're going to go and try to compete and win a title. They don't have a large window. The window is 1 year. They'll be lucky if that window stays open for 2.
If they don't go to the playoffs this year, you think Aaron fucking is going to keep playing?
No.
If he goes and wins the Super Bowl this year, do you think he's going to keep playing?
No.
I don't see many scenarios where he continues to play because he's going to
have to get to the AFC Championship. He's going to have to get to the AFC Championship and get his heart broken.
Maybe. I don't know.
That or the Super Bowl and get his heart broken. And he's going to have that fire to try to come back for one more year. So I get it. I thought the Jets had won because they had to make this happen. They were able to do it without giving up their first this year. But the fact that 60% of the snaps, there's no way that Aaron doesn't play 60% of the snaps unless he gets hurt. And if Aaron gets hurt, game's over, boys. He ain't coming back again.
Yeah.
So they have locked themselves into a 1-year window. And the only way you get a year 2 is if you get close and Aaron gets his heart broken and it's something that was outside of his control. If Aaron says, okay, this is my fault, I can't do it no more, he's done. Because Aaron is too prideful to try to come back and do it again. It's going to have to be something outside of his control. There's going to have to be some sort of like some sort of asinine pass interference call, like we saw that was never called against the Saints, when there was very clearly pass interference. Like, it's going to have to be one of those types of scenarios to get a year 2. Because if he wins, he's done. If they don't make the playoffs, he's done. Like, so if they could have worked this trade where it's a 2 this year and whatever else they fucking gave up, and a conditional 2 next year, or a conditional 3 that bumps up to a 2, or a 2 that bumps up to a 1 if we win the Super Bowl, sure, that makes sense. But 60% of the snaps, that was not enough on that conditional pick. That was not enough at all.
It was silly. I don't know. I don't necessarily wish players to get hurt, but that'd be an interesting one.
It would be interesting for sure. So let's continue to talk about some quarterbacks, and we're
Nick Foles.
We're going to talk about Nick
Nick Foles out there again. Is he going to the Eagles? Is he going to Kansas City?
Big Pole Foles is going to go somewhere. Where? No idea, but I know it ain't going to be with the fucking Colts, because the Colts are all in on Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew, and I think that is the absolute correct decision by this Colts franchise. Yeah. Do not keep a guy around with a massive legacy, because that's what Nick Foles is. He is a puppet. He is a legacy more than he is a player, and he always has been. When Nick Foles burst onto the scene into the league with the Eagles, he threw 7 fucking touchdowns in one game, tied the NFL record. He was this massive fucking name. And what happened after that? He was gone. Like, he wins a Super Bowl. Not even, was it the Eagles? Yeah, I think that's maybe where he broke in. He at one point he threw 7 touchdowns. Might have been the Eagles. Mm-hmm. And then he's gone. He finally finds a way back into the lineup after Carson Wentz goes out. He wins them a Super Bowl. He's a goddamn king in that city. And then he's gone. He goes to the Colts. He's going to help that franchise make the bridge. Barely fucking played. Almost non-existent. And you can't keep him there. You go with a young guy in Gardner Minshew, who's got a ton of moxie, a guy that you and I both like. A guy that I think can be a grown-up in that quarterback room, but doesn't have this massive aura around him for the things that he portrays rather than the player that he is. So you let Gardner go in, you let Anthony Richardson go in, they compete. We see who comes out. I expect that Gardner will start the beginning of the season unless Anthony Richardson absolutely balls out in camp and in the preseason. I think Gardner starts. He gets a good 4-5 games. If they continue to win, he continues. If they struggle in those 4 to 5 games, the Anthony Richardson experience begins. He is going to struggle mightily to start. He may break that fucking record. If he starts the whole season, he may break Peyton Manning's record for most interceptions. But that is not something that deters me from thinking that Anthony Richardson can be successful. If you toss a guy out there who you know is not ready, a la Peyton Manning, who people thought was the best quarterback, but maybe not quite ready, and he breaks Peyton Manning's interception record, like, you can go on and be fucking incredibly successful, a la Peyton Manning. So this is the right decision.
Yeah, for sure. My question is this: where is Foles going to go? I mean, he's at the point where he technically could retire, but he's at the point where he can still make millions of dollars doing absolutely nothing. So I personally think that he's going to be heading out west. I could see him going to the 49ers because him and Darnold could realistically compete right away. I could see him going to the Raiders and being a backup to Garoppolo because Garoppolo has that injury history and they might need someone that can step in. They don't have Jarrett Stidham anymore out there. So there's some possibilities of him going there. I would have said the Buccaneers, but I think that quarterback room is just going to be filled up with too many Jags, and he would be another one of those. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. The legend of Big Dick Foles lives on. And otherwise, like I said, I mean, there's always the Chiefs and Andy Reid, which is familiar to him, or going back to the Eagles, but I don't think he fits their offensive play style anymore, really.
Yeah, I could see the Chiefs as a backup. I think a dark horse is the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson struggled. They're going to need a guy that maybe can come in and be a lightning bolt every once in a while, or especially if Russell, gets dinged up, he has to sit out a couple games, because that backup quarterback situation in Denver has been absolutely fucking atrocious for God knows how long. At one point, they had to have a wide receiver play quarterback for them because they didn't have anybody. So I think that is a dark horse candidate that he could go in and possibly slide into a nice little backup role, and we'll see what happens with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and Jarrett Stidham did end up going to Denver as well, so he's the backup there, which, some people really like the
You're going to want a veteran.
Sure.
Sean Payton is going to want a veteran guy. I mean, Jarrett Stidham, fine. He's been in the league for a little while, has not had really any success until the last 2 games of the year with the fucking Raiders last year. So Sean Payton feels like he's going to want a guy. From what I know about Sean Payton, he's going to want a dude that can go out and be a veteran leader. I don't need you to win me a game. I will fucking scheme something for you to not look like an atrocious piece of shit. That's what Sean Payton feels like to me. But
I'm calling it now. This is a very, very, very reckless speculation into the future. I think that after this year, with how bad things are going to go with the Cardinals and that things are not going to go great with the Broncos, I think that Kyler Murray finds his way to Denver through a trade or whatever, something like that. I think that's something that Sean Payton would like. But that's just
I love it. Reckless. Hey, listen, we're in the off season. Reckless speculation is in full goddamn swing, baby.
Yep. Other stuff that happened in the NFL, we had Giants defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence getting a huge deal, 4-year, $90 million extension. So great contract for him. One of the better interior defensive linemen in the league.
He deserves it. It's not top interior defensive line money, but he is an all-pro. Absolutely deserves it. They had to find a way to make that deal happen. Had to.
Lamar Jackson has been using the NFL's new rules on consumption of marijuana and marijuana products, and has come out and said that he wants to throw for 6,000 yards with their new receivers.
I was going to ask you about this because, listen, that wide receiver group, it's better. That's better than it was in the past.
Sure.
There's no, I mean, I get it. Be confident. Fucking let the nuts swing, bro.
If we have a dream team offense out there, okay, let's put this down. Let's say we have Peyton Manning in his prime.
Okay, so we're going all
Randy
time.
Moss in his prime, Devontae Adams in his prime, Jerry Rice,
yeah,
Calvin Johnson,
T.O., yeah, like
everybody.
The best group of people that you could possibly get together as pass catching weapons.
Yeah, I think you're going to, and no running backs. It's just
we're not running the fucking ball at all.
We'll give him like receiving backs, like a LaDainian Tomlinson and a Darren Sproles and that sort of situation, but they ain't running the ball. You're going to be hard pressed to make it to 5,500 yards. So 6,000. Lamar's been playing a little bit too much Madden on easy mode and smoking the devil's lettuce, because that's just not happening. It's a dumb thing to say. You can be like, outrageous. I want to push for the receiving yard record. Okay. Like, or the passing yardage record. I think we could push for it. Okay. Unrealistic, but at least you're not being like, I'm going to throw for 10,000 yards, because we got a decrepit old Odell Beckham Jr. He's got the poo-poo wiped off his chest now. And we've got Rashad Bateman, who's never lived up to his number 2 style receiver status. And yeah, that's about it.
We have the 3rd best tight end in the league. Yeah. And we have a completely unproven rookie wide receiver who basically can only play the slot. But I'm going to throw for 6,000 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you want to say it, we're going to get 6,000 total yards out of me, passing and rushing. You're getting closer, but you're not even getting that close. Like, I could see him throwing for 3,200 yards and rushing for 1,000 if he's the entire offense, like he pretty much is. But even that's a little bit out there to me. But whatever. That's Lamar talking silly in the press conference.
It was wild, dude. When I saw that quote, I was like, okay, so don't get me wrong, I love the confidence. You should be, when you're an athlete, you have got to be supremely confident, especially when you're playing at the highest levels of the game. But you also have to be slightly grounded in reality. Like, nobody's
Sure.
ever throwing for 6,000 yards. I
You
don't
can't be
care how
Antonio
many
Brown
extra
here.
games. I don't care how many extra fucking games they added. They add an 18th game. Nobody's still getting to 6,000 yards.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
He's talking too close to Antonio Brown style logic, and which makes it even funnier.
Who apparently is going to sign a deal and go be a Ravens receiver, even though the Ravens had no idea about it.
You're like, oh, okay. I like all the shit coming out about him too, about how he's, partial owner of like an AFL team. Apparently he's like been withholding payment to like coaches and locking players out of rooms and hotels on travel and stuff like that. Just basically being himself. Insane. So that's going well for him. But other than that, news in the NFL, Taylor Lewan, former offensive tackle for the Titans. Sounds like he is probably going to be retired as of this point. Has a lawsuit out there.
There's a lawsuit, big lawsuit, and it's against Dr. James Andrews, who is one of the most revered, trusted surgeons in the entire NFL. Basically, in all of sports, this is the ortho guy that you want to go see if you are going to get better. However, Taylor Lewan had surgery on his knee a couple years ago, and from what Taylor is saying, things did not go right. Things are not normal. His knee is still not right. So he has filed lawsuit against Dr. James Andrews because he feels medical malpractice. He feels that what has happened to his knee is a direct result of the surgery that he received because it did not get him better. He tried to play on it, and by all looks, it is going to be worse. There's a small child back here.
Yeah, she's been hanging there for a minute. I was like, oh, you're just ignoring her. Yeah, he's calling it, quote, severe and permanent damage to that right ACL that he had surgery on in 2020. Now, this is completely outside of my spectrum of knowledge on this sort of stuff, because what's a good ACL surgery versus a bad one, what would be considered malpractice in that situation is tough. It's a lot more clear cut when you have Tyrod Taylor getting a needle punctured into his lung. That's an obvious fuck up. But when you're talking about an ACL surgery from Dr. James Andrews, who we know does good work, I believe he's the one that did the surgery on Adrian Peterson's ACL.
Yes. Everybody who has an ACL in the NFL goes to Dr. James Andrews. There's a reason that people go to this guy. He's the best ortho in the country.
Yeah. So they're saying the lawsuit is accusing the defendants of an improper repair that caused permanent injury to his right knee and surrounding structures, tendons, cartilage, and ligaments, and cutting Lewan's NFL career short as a result of negligent acts and omissions. Now, it's tough for me to say because I don't know how you determine this. I mean, they're going to probably have plenty of MRIs and stuff like that, but it's like, do you look back at like MRIs that were done immediately after the surgery to see did he do something wrong? But I just can't imagine that a guy who does this day in, day out as one of the top professionals in his career with this sort of surgery to have practice,
Yeah, so the malpractice, and I'll take over here, Evo, because you're breaking up. But yeah, to go with Dr. James Andrews is interesting because after the surgery, like, you're going to have all the scans from immediately after the surgery to give to evidence to prove that there was medical malpractice. But if they don't have that, what the lawyers for Dr. James Andrews should say, what I would say if I were their lawyers, I am not a lawyer by any means. Actually, I'm gonna pop this banner up while I fucking say this. Yeah, we're not licensed professionals. This is conjecture by a couple of dummy thick idiots. But if I'm that lawyer, I'm going to say that Taylor was re-injured and it was unknown to him in the time that he played from the time that the surgery was done. If you do not have all the medical evidence from directly after when the surgery took place that shows that there was a problem and that he told you that everything was fine, I don't know how you can prove this. Evo, you're back. Go ahead.
Yeah, even if you have all that sort of stuff, I don't know how it would be this many years in the future, and then you go back and say, oh yeah, this was the point. I would have to believe that if you have the surgery right afterwards. Maybe the team does extra MRIs and sees how it's going, and you're going to have more scans and stuff to see how the healing is going. And at that point in time, that they would have noticed a problem, and then they would have said, "Hey, go and correct this. You might be out longer, but go and correct this because otherwise it's going to be severe and permanent for the rest of your career." So you would think that it would have been something that would have been corrected back then, or that it would have been noticed back then, that it wouldn't have taken surgery from 2020 until now, 2023, for them to be like, oh, now it's a problem. Like, I don't want to say it's a money grab. I like Taylor Lewan, but obviously
Taylor.
that knee is causing him issues. It has set his career back, but injuries like this, unfortunately, are part of the game. And some of them are detrimental enough that you cannot fully recover from and may never recover from. And it almost sounds like this is one of those situations where they repaired the ACL, but it was never going to be what it was before.
Right.
Again, I don't know. Dummy thick idiots. We are not doctors.
We're not lawyers either.
Nope. But
we don't.
It's interesting that this is happening. I mean, he's made a good amount of money in his career. And if Dr. James Andrews gets found guilty of this, it's not really going to hurt him that much because these guys carry fantastic insurance.
Yeah, well, and the track record for Dr. James Andrews is fucking phenomenal. This would be the first case I think I've ever heard of where Dr. James Andrews did not do a good job. I'm going to pop this comment back up there. So Mama Carlisle, appreciate you popping in here, but she also worked in a law firm as a paralegal for a very long time, has been through all sorts of legal documents, and does have a far better understanding than I do, and probably more than most of our watchers do, about some of the things that would have to be proved in court. So if they would have to show that a standard of care fell below that which is reasonable. Now, I'm not sure how that happens. I'm not sure how we get to that point. So,
sure. I'm actually just going to
and Evo is sounding like a robot again, but I will give you a second to go ahead and take a look at what you were going to look up, and we'll see if we get you back here. But Taylor Lewan, I love him. I really do. Like that podcast, the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, is one of the best podcasts you could possibly listen to. If you're not listening to us, you should definitely go listen to those guys. And if you are listening to them, come check us out. Very similar feel. I feel like I like the Bussin' and the Boys guys. They're super, super good. They are very poignant with the things that they say. But Taylor it's in a weird spot, and he can't necessarily talk about it because he can't talk about it on the podcast for sure, because he is still technically in the NFL and there's a lawsuit outstanding. Go ahead, Evo, you're back.
Yeah, I'm looking up medical malpractice lawsuits against Dr. James Andrews. I can only find one. It happens to be with my former defensive tackle for the Vikings, Sharif Floyd, who had his career cut short. He had a $180 million medical malpractice lawsuit against Dr. James Andrews, and it looks like they just came to a settlement, I believe.
Which would make sense for Dr. James Andrews. Why not settle out of court so you can maintain that level of professionalism and that to be still the most world-renowned fucking ortho in the United States. Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot.
Yeah, like he's got an almost spotless fucking track record. So this situation is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We are not going to hear too many details until the lawsuit is more than likely settled. I don't think this will ever go to court, but it sucks for Taylor. Taylor was a very good player. Like, he was an all-pro at one point, but his career is probably over. Not that he cannot, and he's going to transition into his secondary career fantastically. They're a massive part of what Barstool does. So Bussin' with the Boys is going nowhere. They had certain deals in place with gambling and things like that. And as soon as Taylor's out of the NFL and retired, the more in depth that they can get with their sponsorships, and especially when it comes to sports gambling, because the NFL will hem you up if you are even thinking about sports gambling, or if you gamble on another sport inside the building in which you work, which is an NFL facility, which kind of takes us into another little storyline. what is going on with these NFL players and their sports gambling habits? Why are these guys like, the rules? You cannot gamble on the NFL. That one's easy. That one's super, super easy. Don't fucking gamble on the sport that you are playing professionally. It is a terrible, terrible look. Ask Pete Rose. It will get you banned from the sport that you played and love for eternity. Do not do it. But you also know that you cannot gamble inside the facility, which is how Jameson Williams got hemmed up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also coming out that apparently these sportsbook agencies are reporting it.
Yes, they are going to fucking narc these guys out.
Yeah. So that part is the more interesting part to me. You think that they'd be like, hey, if this guy's giving us money or making money or something like that, I'm just going to fucking be quiet about it. But they could also kind of cook the books a little bit by revealing information to the NFL on a certain player to make a certain bet work out in their favor.
But listen, sports gambling is legal in like 35 states now. However, it is not necessarily popular in 35 states. The people that we talk to are massive sports gamblers. They love sports gambling. However, that is not always the consensus with every person that lives in those states. There is a certain thing that goes along with sports gambling. People still consider it to be kind of a shady business. And these companies, the FanDuels, the DraftKings, the fucking MGM Sportsbooks, all of these people have deals to run advertising during all of these major sports events. If they are not reporting this, could they lose their sponsorship deals and their media availability to run advertising during these events? If they don't report it, could they get hemmed up? That is why I think they are going to report these people. It's not because they're worried about the sanctity of the game. They're worried about their bottom dollar. If we know that these players are gambling and we don't fucking say something and the NFL, NBA, MLB finds out, we're cooked.
Yeah. But it's neither here nor there. That's just dumb. Players should be smarter than that.
They absolutely should be smarter than that. But, brother, I think we're running out of storylines to talk about because we, like I said, on the little write-in, we are in the dog days of podcast season, brother. We found a way to turn this thing into almost an hour and a half episode with nothing but storylines. The NFL is in quiet season right now. We'll see some other deal come out. We'll start eventually we're going to see some late cuts, guys who are going to be cap casualties after the draft. Right now, the NFL is, for about the next week and a half, they're going to be in quiet mode for a little bit until things start to ramp up. We're starting to see some mini camps getting ready to go, but
voluntary practices, things like that.
Yeah. But other than that, man, I got nothing else for today. What about you? You got anything else that you wanted to talk about that we saw that we needed to hit on?
No, nothing really other than my ping going up to 2,000 something milliseconds, which is fucking great.
Christ.
So, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
That's insane.
Yeah. Maybe the equipment is just failing here, and I need to speak with the internet service provider about them not fucking me anymore.
Yeah. Well, at least they got to take you out to dinner before
right. I prefer to be wined and dined before I get fucked. At least tell me I'm pretty.
Yeah.
All right, man. Yeah, that's about it for me.
All right. Well, guys, we are going to get the fuck out of here. We are very appreciative of every time you guys pop in, say hello, interact with us on the socials. We thank you. We love the support, and we cannot thank you enough for that. If you do want to interact with the show, because you haven't before, go to Facebook. We have a group and a page. The group is always going gangbusters. Evo is constantly posting shit. He is basically our Adam Schefter on this show. Check out the Twitter page. I am fairly active on the Twitter page. I've been much more active recently as well. That's at Lineman Lounge. If you want to check out our Instagram, there's some more content on there as well. TikTok. I just started that new TikTok series, little sports talk, little working out, watching my fat ass get back into shape. And if you want to listen to the show, go anywhere podcasts are found. If you want to watch our beautiful faces, you want to watch this turn from the thickness that it is into a more chiseled body, go to YouTube. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell as well, so that way you know every time that we go live. But guys, thank you very much. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll talk to you next week. See you. Oh, can't do it that way. Don't worry, Evo.
It's not working because my